So the items you're going to need for your curtains are curtain rods of your choice. I chose this smaller kind of cafe rod. It's going to be just enough to go across the window. Let me show you what they are. I purchased them at Walmart, and I did go with the bronze color. I thought that would look a little fancier. You'll need hot glue and a hot glue gun. You want to make sure you have plenty of hot glue so you don't get halfway through the project and run out. That's probably more than I'm going to need, but I know that I have plenty. A measuring tape, some good utilitarian scissors. You'll be using this on burlap, so you don't want to use your good fabric scissors, but something that you know will cut well and get through the fabric. You'll need an iron and an ironing board, something you can iron on that won't damage the surface. Don't worry, this one's not on, it's just down so that I can show you a picture of it. And finally, for our burlap, I'm using two different burlaps. The top burlap is a fleur-de-lis print burlap. I purchased that at Walmart along with the plain burlap underneath. I have 2 yards of the top burlap and I have 6 yards of the bottom, I had to remember. Okay, so I took my measurements and here's how I did it. The width of my window from trim to trim, this is really important. I went right outside the trim to the outside of the other trim. So in other words, I'm not measuring the glass, I'm measuring the actual exterior of the entire window casing. It was 39¼ inches. Now for height, I did from the top outside of the trim to the floor. Now this will allow me to hang my curtains right at the top of the window, and they will touch the floor based on these measurements once I get my math done. The reason I did this is because I'm not going to raise my curtain rod above the window casing. My walls are pretty tall, and so my room feels pretty tall already. Plus the canopy bed to me makes the room feel kind of tall, so I'm not going to take them very high above the window. I'm actually just going to take them to the top of the window. So that's what my measurements are for. If you decided you wanted your curtains to start higher above the window to give the feel of a taller room, just move your measuring tape up to where you want to hang your curtain rod and then measure to the floor. Now for my measurement is 83 inches. So let's start with the width. So just to decide how wide I want my fabric, this is what I'll do. I'll take my 39¼ inch measurement. Now I want to have enough room to give a 1 inch seam or hem on either side so that I don't have frayed burlap down the side of the curtain. So here's what I'll do. I'll add 2 inches to this. That way I know it will have the correct width and I'll be able to turn under 1 inch. So that will make it 41¼ inches. Now, if you want to save material, this is a great way to go. Just go with your measurement and cut it. But I happen to know that my material is 45 inches wide, and I don't mind having a little extra fluff. So I'm going to go ahead and make this width 45 inches. That way, all I will have to do is use one panel of my burlap instead of having to cut my, cut like 3 3/4 inches off or 4 3/4 inches off. So this way I'm just going to use 45 inches width of fabric, of burlap. Now let's talk about height. Now for the height of the fabric. Now I know that I'm working with 83 inches that I need just to cover my window, but I want to add room for a hem. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 inch to the bottom, or to the height of the fabric, so I can add a hem at the bottom. So that'll give me 84 inches and allow for my bottom hem. But I also need to allow for a top pocket. Now I feel like the pocket could be 1 inch and be fine for my curtain rods, but I don't want it to be too tight and I don't want to take a chance of not having enough. So I'm going to add 2 inches. So I'm going to bring 84 down, and I'm going to add 2 inches for my top curtain rod pocket. So I need 86 inches of material from top to bottom. So when you cut your panel, it'll look something like this at the top. You're going to add that 2 inches at the top, allowing you to be able to fold this over and get your hem, or get your pocket so your curtain rod can slide through. So in other words, that's why we're adding 2 inches here. Now for the bottom, we're going to add 1 inch to the bottom so that when we fold it over, we can have our 1 inch hem. Now while I still have my fabric on the bolt, what I did was I laid this out on the floor and I took my measuring tape and I measured the length I would need before I cut it away, and then I made a mark. To make cutting this so much easier, I'm going to take this mark and I'm going to run it down to the edge of the fabric so that I can stay on that one thread. So I have this thread marked here, and I'm going to snip loose this stay stitching on the end, just grabbing there and there, just right beside it, allowing me to be able to pull this thread loose, just the one. That's all I'm interested in. And I'm just going to pull this thread completely out of the fabric. It might ruffle a little bit as you pull, no biggie, just get it out of there. Now let's talk about hemming the fabric. This is going to be the bottom hem, and I'm going to do exactly what I just did to make things so much easier on me. I'm going to take my measuring tape, I'm going to measure down 1 inch. I'm going to mark it, the thread, I'm going to mark the thread that is at 1 inch, and then I'm going to pull it out. This will make things a lot easier. Remember, you're going to snip the stay threads, the little threads on either side that are keeping it there. You want to use your measuring tape, run it down the line so you can see which one you're going to pull. Mark that thread with the mark. Then, just on either side of your stay stitching, or on either side of that string, you want to snip that little white stay stitching away. That way, pulling will be so much easier. Then we just pull. Now before I finish completely, I want to show you this. This fabric is wrinkling all the way across, and that's no big deal. You just keep pulling the string until it comes out and it'll be just right. And now that I've pulled it loose, it laid flat again. Now once you have that line exposed that you created in the fabric, what you'll do is fold down at that line and then press it in place with your iron. Now I've already done this side, so we've got a nice press for our bottom hem, but we need to do the sides. We want to do them the same way. We want to run that thread out. It's so much easier than measuring all the way down. Just go ahead and measure in 1 inch on either side and run that thread out and then press them. Now on these edges, because we already have a raw edge, we won't have to snip any stay stitching. We can just pull that thread away. If you're having a problem with wrinkles on the edge of your fabric, before you do your fold for your hem, just press that out. Just use your iron and press those wrinkles out. It will help you in the long run. It'll help you be able to see the thread that you released better. You can see I can see it really clearly right there, and it'll also help you when you're folding over not to have a bunch of bulk. So just press that out. Then you want to fold over on your line where you released the thread and press all the way down on both sides. Alright, so I'm coming up on the end of my ironing on the burlap, and I just thought I would share this with you. Apparently, this burlap is bringing up a sensory memory for me, which I think is so funny. My grandparents were farmers, like real farmers. They had smokehouses and barns and things like that, and it's so funny. As I do this, I am taken back to the smell of the smokehouse. Apparently, hot burlap smells the same under an iron as it does in the summer sun and summer heat. So, this reminds me of Grandma and Papa's smokehouse, the smell that I'm smelling as I do this. I don't know if that's good if I want my room to smell like a smokehouse, but anyway, it's going to. Now we're at the top, and I've measured down 2 inches and pulled my thread. Now you may notice that I have not been gluing this down as I go. The reason for that is just like in this area. I don't want a bulk of glue just kind of, stiffly as I turn this over. I want it to still be a little bit soft. So we'll get to those hems in a second. But we're going to go ahead and iron down our curtain pocket here, and then we'll be ready to start gluing. Okay, so now that all of the ironing is done, you can see that I get a nice flat curtain rod pocket here because of the ironing. Now we can start gluing. So I have my hot glue gun ready. It's kind of off camera, but I have a plate here and my hot glue gun. And I'm going to use my silicone mat for my hot glue gun today and put it underneath my burlap where I'll be gluing. The reason for this, burlap has a very open weave, so I don't want the hot glue to go through to my ironing board and glue it down to the ironing board. That would not be good. So we're just going to use our silicone mat, and as we glue, just move it along the line. I'm going to start by gluing just a little bit here, just to kind of seal this hem down that I haven't gotten to yet, just to get it out of our way. I want to show you guys this tool also. Next time we're at the Dollar Tree, pick up one of these little silicone, I guess they're for pastries, cake making and things like that. They're perfect for using with hot glue because these ends are silicone and they're very firm. And for $1, you can't make this one cheaper than that. So pick up one of these. That way, when you're gluing down with your hot glue, you can take that spatula and just press it in place without burning your hands. And for $1, it was worth it. So I cannot tell you how messy this project is. I wish you could see all the burlap on me, but anyway, look at the burlap everywhere. Okay, so wherever you do this, do it where you can make a mess. The next thing is, this is that second burlap material that we're going to use, and I cut a piece that's about 1 foot wide, and I've already frayed the top portion here with the just pulling the threads out, but I wanted to do the bottom portion where you were watching me do that. So I'm going to do like about 1 inch fray, and what I'm doing is going down about 5 threads and pulling one out all the way across. Now this burlap has a print on it, so the thread will catch more often until you get it loose, and then it will come out no problem. Now this strip is the width of the burlap on the yard. I didn't cut the width, I only cut the height to get myself this height. Alright, and now I'm just going to fray these edges. Very simple. And you're just going to fray to that point where you pull that string out. A viewer gave me that tip, and I was like, how did I never think of that? But it was genius, so I appreciate that. Okay, so what I have laying here is the curtain. This is the pocket that I've already glued in place, and then this is the top portion of the curtain. Now, I am going to make sure I have this the right way up, because that would be bad. Make sure your pattern is facing the correct way. This is the top of the curtain, and I'm going to come down about the width of my hand. I'm not very big on measuring this because I want it to look just like a burlap sack, just very rugged. So what we're going to do, this panel is not as wide as my burlap curtain is. So I'm going to glue this in place, but I'm going to skip about 3 inches and kind of center it in my panel. And when you see the picture, it'll make more sense. Now we're just going to glue this down. And I'm going to start with the side, getting that glued into place first. And I'm just gluing this panel on. It's really just for interest. It's not going to serve any purpose except I really love fleur-de-lis and I wanted them on my curtains. So, have that glued down. Now, the biggest thing is to make sure that you keep your distance the same here all the way across, so when you hang the curtain it'll look okay. So all you're going to do now is take your hot glue and run it underneath this panel all the way down. So we're just gluing our printed panel to our curtain panel that we created. Messy, messy project. Look at the hot glue everywhere. But I ain't sewing. I'm using a good bit of hot glue because you're not going to see it, and it's good because it gets into the weave of the burlap. Alright, this is ready to hang. Okay, so my panels are done and hanging, and I've decided I want to do a tie back. So here's what I did. I took the printed burlap that I had and I cut a strip. Just a pretty good strip because I want it to be pretty loose. So this strip I cut is the width of the fabric. My fabric is 46 inches, so that's the whole length that I have here. And what I'm going to do is mimic this top portion with the fringe like that was already on the bolt. To do that is to find a thread in about 5 threads and pull it all the way down and out. And I want to show you this. Once you loosen the thread from both ends, it pulls so much easier. You can just pretty much kind of wiggle and pull, and it just comes out really easy. And you don't get all the gathering you are getting. Now then, we want to come over here and just start pulling these threads to that one that we just pulled out. It's kind of our stopping point. We don't have to measure. We don't have to think. We just unravel to that point. Then when you come down here, you'll see you have all of these threads all together. Just start at the top and unravel, and just keep going. I'm getting good at this unraveling stuff. I'm showing you some new ways of doing it. Now this is going to happen on this printed material. If it does, just go pull them one at a time till you get past it. Then you can go back to pulling multiples at the same time. The more you pull, the better the fray looks, in my opinion too. I've noticed that if I pull one at a time, the fray is really neat. And if I pull a bunch at one time, the fray gets pretty messy, which is what I want. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm looking for on my tie back. I want it to have this frayed edge here and here. So I'm going to do the other one just like it. Now I want to show you something. If your thread breaks while you're pulling, no big deal. Just come back here and find where it has broken. lift it up, just that one thread. See how I just pulled it up, and just keep going. No big deal. It's probably going to happen because you're pulling pretty firm. No biggie. Now that I have my tie back all frayed all along the edges, I'm going to take my hot glue and run it down this side. Then I'm going to bring the other edge to it and seal it as if that were a seam. It is super hot. Please don't touch it. Use a tool of some sort. This tool also helps you to pick up the strings. See how the hot glue kind of attaches to it and you can rub it off. So it kind of helps you get those strings out of the way. Now I wanted to do a little bit of kind of tailoring look, and I don't have any buttons. I wish I had some big chunky buttons, but I don't. So here's what I'm going to do. This is one of those paper plates that are cardboardy and pretty firm. I'm going to use one of these and the circle from my Starbucks cup. This is a Starbucks cup, and I like the size of this circle. So I'm going to trace this onto my plate, and I'm going to do it twice. There's one. And two. Now I'm just going to cut those out. Now there are my circles. You notice they're not perfect. They're just some circles. What I'm going to do next is cut burlap to cover those with. And I have this extra strip, just a piece. I'm going to use that. And I'm just going to lay this down here and just kind of roughly make myself a circle, leaving some edges that I can hot glue with. I'm just going to kind of mark. I'm telling you, this stuff is easy to work with. You may not can see that on camera because I'm doing it really lightly. And now I'm going to go back and cut that circle out and one more just like it. Now I have two very rough cut little burlap circles, and I'm going to bring one of my paper plate pieces over and some hot glue. I'm going to put some hot glue onto that button, which that's what that's going to be, is a button, because I don't have any. You know, this is what I mean by when you don't have something, this is how you get creative and figure it out, right? Let's go ahead and do the other one. Okay, so now that I have these glued on, nice and firmly, I'm going to come around with my scissors and snip almost to the button, or almost to the circle in several places. I mean, really close, but not exact. I bet you know where we're going with this. Then, using that hot glue again, I'm going to run a circle around the edge and turn these in. Now we'll definitely use my tool here because I do not want to get burned. This tool has really helped me today. I haven't gotten burned very much at all, actually. Watch me say that and burn my fingers off, as the frugal crafter would say, or burn my hands off. She's so cute. If you don't watch her, you need to go check her out, the Frugal Crafter on YouTube. She also has a website. I'm not exactly sure if that's the same name for her website, but I know her YouTube. Look how messy I'm being. I really enjoyed that you can be this messy and you end up with a very neat, tailored looking product. Now see how messy this is? Let's trim off all the messiness. Any strings you don't like. Don't have to be perfect. Just like so. And flip it over. So cute. Okay, set that aside and do the other. Okay, so here's our faux buttons. Now, as you know, most buttons have thread running through them. What I'm going to do is take some of that thread that I frayed off of my printed burlap. And the reason is because, see, I have some black in there and you'll be able to see it. I'm going to tie a bow really simply. Don't care. I'm telling y'all, it does not have to be perfect. So just pull your bow. Something like this. And I'm going to glue it on top. Let me trim it to where I want it. And that's what's going to be my faux button. Now, once you have your bow and glued down to your faux button, you want to come back to your tie back. You want to put some hot glue on the back of your button. And then you want to glue it down to your tie back. And not right up at the top because you want it to show. You want that button to be seen. Be careful with your glue. And I'm going to stick this under here just to make sure that I'm not gluing it to the other side. So now our tie backs even look like we have a button stitched onto them, and we don't. But how cute, huh? I love it. So that's how we did that. I'm going to do the other one, and we'll go to the curtains. Okay, guys, so this is the finished project. And before I span down for you to see it, I want to talk for a second about what you're looking at. That panel you see in the center is where we took that second burlap, which is the printed burlap, and just cut a panel to fit there, and it's simply glued on. You cannot tell that it's not as long as the burlap underneath, and that's fine. It's just kind of a panel. So you see at the top I'm using some simple cafe rods. You don't have to. You could do something really pretty with big finials, or you can make some finials, whatever you want to do. So we're going to pan down. I'm going to let you see the whole thing. I just love how these have turned out. I like how airy they are, so they don't really take light out of the room. They actually diffuse light in the room, so I really like it. So here you go. This is the tie back. I love how these turned out with the fringed edge. And I think my favorite part is that fake button right there. Can you believe that's a paper plate, some hot glue, and a little string? Because that's what it is, and I just love it. What's so cool about these curtains, guys, is they look expensive. In real life, they really look expensive. But what I love is I have less than $30 in both panels, and that's everything. Fabric, glue, everything. I cannot show you both panels because my camera won't show you very good that way. I will take pictures, so look for that at the end of the video. If you have any questions about anything that I might have missed in the tutorial, I hope I showed you exactly how to make them. Just let me know. Alright guys, thanks for hanging on for the bedroom redo, and I'll see you tomorrow as we take on another project in our bedroom. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.